I don't even think that's that. I think that what I think was happening was that it was a business between McGilden and Graydon, and what was I think I've had this in my head for a while, but I think what was happening was Graydon was getting communication secrets, and then he was going to his dad and making him make the discs, the music box discs, on the with Morse code. So obviously he can be none the wiser. Now, obviously, Mason was getting a bit wise to it, so he listened to him, translated it, and then he went to McGilden. He's like, I'm going to blackmail you. And McGilden's like, haha, fuck you. So I think that Graydon probably figured out what happened, and so he probably killed McGilden after the trial, or some such nonsense.
Ooh.
Yeah. All of a sudden, we seem to be up to our necks in a serious matter of national security, although all this talk about interception of secret government messages is still just conjecture at this stage. We still don't know a whole lot about the government secrets, but if I had to guess, it has something to do with the lady from the first trial that killed Dr. Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
It'd explain a number of things, though, wouldn't it? The negotiation Ginny overheard on the omnibus 2 months ago, and the break-in at Windybanks. But the trouble is, it wasn't Mr. Graydon on the omnibus when Mr. McGilden. No, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker, who was horribly murdered. Alright.
Objection.
Hooray. Mr. Ashley Milverton, tell me, why did you try to hide your former name from the court? Because I haven't gone by that name for years. It means nothing to me. No, I don't think that's the real explanation at all. Wait, did we have the brickmaker in our notes?
No.
Not anymore. The truth is, you had a reason to hide that name. Explain yourself, please, Counsel. I have here the notes from the omnibus case, my lord. And as we all know, the victim, the man who we now understand to have been negotiating with McGilden... Yes, I'm for Betty Bye. That's right, Betty Bye. Only Mason wasn't his surname at all. That was a given name. His full name was Mason Milverton. Milverton? Oh, do you mean to say he saints alive? Mr. Ashley Milverton, is not the case. Is it not the case that the brickmaker Mr. Mason Milverton was your father? Or is my uncle, actually? Oh, wait, shit! I don't... As I believe I mentioned earlier, your family history will have been thoroughly checked when you joined the civil service. It really would take no time at all for the court to subpoena those records. The truth is you have been illegally acquiring highly confidential government information and selling it to McGilden on collaboration with your father. The new facts and evidence unveiled by the cross-examination of this witness all come together to reveal the truth. The truth, you say? That you collaborated with your father, Mr. Mason Milverton, in illegal dealings with Magnus McGilden. Burnt into this music box, you mean, Counsel? Yes, stealing information has been being sent in secret government communications and selling it on to McGilden. Mr. Graydon concocted this elaborate scheme of using 2 music box discs to encode the information, as presumably a safety measure against the information falling into the wrong hands. A very effective one. I shouldn't have given the scheme any credence whatsoever. But the deal with McGilden went sour, and the brickmaker met his end. Yes, but before he was arrested, McGilden managed to temporarily dispose of the stolen disc at the pawnbroker. Then, having learnt of the situation, you appeared at Windibank's 2 days ago. And did what? No, not you. In an attempt to recover the 2 articles of McGilded that McGilded had placed in pawn there. But that attempt failed. One of the discs was seized by the police, and the other you never found. So that same night, you enlisted the help of the Skulkin brothers and broke into the pawnbrokery. This time, determined to recover the second disc. Are you suggesting that the second disc was inside the music box? Eh? Well, we never knew nothing about that. On the night that Mr. Windibank was killed. The intruder at the pawnbrokery touched one item, and one item alone. The music box.
We're gonna have to take his coat.
That's rather ingeniously demonstrated using the blueprints from the security camera, indeed. I really hope that the second game doesn't have any of that shit, because that bothers me. I'd rather just flip between the 2 photos at that point. Don't fucking cross your eyes. So the question that naturally begs answering is this. Why was only that one article disturbed? The answer is obvious, because it contained the second disc, which the intruder was desperate to retrieve. Since if it were to fall into the hands of the police, it would be proof of high treason. I just need to adjust myself here. Well, Mr. Graydon, or should I say, do you deny that all of this actually began on that fateful night 2 months ago? I do deny it. I refuse to accept any of this nonsense.
His thing's bleeding.
Is it?
His arm's bleeding.
I didn't see it. Can you just let the game play out? Sir, there appears to be blood seeping through the sleeve of your jacket. Shit. Ugh. 2 nights ago, we know that 3 shots were fired at the scene of the crime in Windibank's pawnbrokery. 1 took the life of the pawnbroker himself. 1 struck the pouch around Mr. Sholmes' waist and into the calendar. And the final bullet struck the calendar on the wall of the shop, having first pierced the arm of one of the intruders. Okay, yeah, sorry, I was wrong about that. Because we found the bullet. Ouch. Mr. Graydon, that wound on your arm that you seem to be trying to hide, it's a bullet wound, isn't it? Can't prove that shit. He's got you now, you me old China. Time to call it quits and croak, I reckon. Don't acknowledge my presence there under any circumstances whatsoever. Those were my terms, remember, and I paid you handsomely for it. Clearly, I was a fool to think I could trust some common backslum thieves. Fine, I admit it. I was there in Windibanks that night. I paid this pair 10 guineas to accompany me, and as you've noticed, I sustained an injury in the course of my adventures. But that is all. I admit to nothing more. Stealing government secrets, negotiating with Mr. McGilded, killing a man? Nope, not me. As God is my witness, I'm sure I recall nothing of the sort. It's not going to go down without a fight, not until I can show hard evidence, I suppose. Nevertheless, the defense has now established a crucial fact. Which is... well, we know that 1 bullet was fired from each of the 2 firearms we have in evidence. The bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun hit the pouch around Mr. Sholmes' waist. And the bullet from Mr. Windibank's gun clearly must have been the one that caught Mr. Graydon on the arm. Indeed it must. We can rule out the possibility that the man shot himself. And that leads us to only one conclusion. Mr. Windibank was shot by a 3rd gun, which can only have been fired by the 3rd intruder. Oh shit! You right? Which means he basically just admitted to murder. That's my Mr. That's right.
I will admit to murder, but not treason, apparently.
The only person who could possibly have shot Mr. Windbake that night is you!
Hold it!
You little upstart. You made a grave mistake when you summoned me here. He pulls out another gun. What? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, as you rightly say, I was there at the pawnbroker's. I did my best to hide the fact, naturally. I had no intention of ruining the distinguished career I'd built for myself at the, communications station. But did the thought never cross your mind? Did you never consider the possibility? What do you mean? What thought? What possibility? The possibility that if I was there at the scene, I may witness the crucial moment. You see, this makes me a key witness in this case, and I have my hands firmly around the neck of your client. What? Are you suggesting? I saw it all. I saw the very moment that pickpocket girl pointed the gun at the poor defenseless pawnbroker and shot him. You what?
We just confirmed that in her hands was...
Order, order, order! Well, it would seem we're finally entering the last act of this theatrical trial. Yes, to the grade then. Yeah. Yes. I trust you are fully aware of the implications here. If it is shown that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as the killer. Oh, I understand fully. I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You will explain to the court precisely what you saw at the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim. I like how the jury has just been kind of silent this whole time. Nothing would give me greater pleasure.
Except when they were murmuring to each other.
Well, these ruffians were jostling with the broker. I was still in the entrance to the shop. When Winterbank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. The accused in black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. I saw the blood splatter all over that wretched girl. Yes, she was wearing the...
Oh, yes, she was.
And then she tossed the gun out of the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. Gracious, this is quite extraordinary testimony. I think the positioning is going to be important then.
Mm-hmm.
You claim, sir, under oath, to have clearly seen the defendant pulling the trigger. Order! 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 It wasn't my intention to testify in this way. But neither is it my intention to be found guilty of a murder I didn't commit. Shaker, you see, my hand has been forced. I tell the truth now as an act of self-preservation. The truth? Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Yes, well, sorry about that. Having shot me in the arm, I mixed up like 3 different people's accents there. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then having shot in the back by the accused. Dance. And as I said, she was showered in his blood. You say the blood splattered over the accused's coat? Are you sure on that point? Oh yes, quite sure. All over the black overcoat that pickpocket girl was wearing at the time. Really? If our coat should somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood, that would be conclusive evidence here. Sloop, sloop, sloop. I said, what the fuck? Where did this cup come from now? I thought I threw that ghost cup away. Oh no. I'm being haunted by the ghosts of my cups past.
Oh no, this is number 14. Sorry, where were we? Such an investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist has developed a technique to identify human blood. So here's to true science, not some amateurish detective's dubious foray into the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Hurley's work. His ideas are all sound. That sound is rubbish. Ideas are of no use to us here. In science, as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. That's not how scientific theories work. They have to be proven wrong before they're discredited. Like how gravity is a theory. It can't be proven otherwise, so it's not... What?
This game wants to sound smart.
Yeah. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in the courtroom as the basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a small quantity of the chemical reagent used with your lordship's permission. Watch it just be the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye, Ghost Cup. We could shatter all vestiges of doubt within minutes. Vestiges, you say? This doesn't look good, Bruno. Why not? Well, we know, don't we, that there's blood all over the front of Jenny's coat! If they test it with their chemicals... Oh, help. You're right. I was forgetting what happened yesterday. Big purple stains. Don't move, Jenny. I'm gonna shoot you. Don't have to try if there's no defendant. But that's not Mr. Windibank's blood. The stain is from 2 months ago. It's Mr. Mason's blood from when he was stabbed by McGilded, who was wearing the coat at the time.
So now you have to prove that the coat was good.
Yeah, I don't know. The defense objects to the test proposed by the prosecution. Overruled. Lord Van Jukes, make it so at once. With pleasure, my lord. While we await the results, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Once they find that blood on the overcoat, Gina will be... Counsel! Yes, my lord. Oh, cross-examination! Stop staring off into space and think about your late boyfriend. Yes, sir. Wait, how did you know about that?
I too had a late boyfriend.
Yeah, the judge just looks misty-eyed. I too had a late boyfriend. This cross-examination doesn't go well. If I don't manage to uncover some decisive evidence or a really compelling clue now, I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial. Moment of the shooting. One of these ruffians. Yeah. So, we need to do a couple of things.
Hold on, what's the next couple statements? Because there was something that caught
Yeah,
me.
so it's this is true. Wait, no, this is not true. Because we know that Gina was the one that shut the door, and he was still running. The Windibank was still running in.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, like the last 4 statements are all have issues. So this one, that one's definitely wrong. That one, and that one. So those, I think
the first one that you can prove indefinitely is that she threw the gun, because there's a picture with her with the gun in her hand.
Yeah.
So I'd say start with that one.
Yeah, there's a lot here, so let's just, he's probably gonna be like, well... I'm just gonna try this, see if it does anything. Wow, no, really? Okay.
Isn't there a picture of her?
Yeah. But not in the room.
Yeah, but she's passed out, and we all know that.
No, we do not have a picture of that.
So I'm just gonna start pressing things. Actually, I will start with the last statement, because that one's definitely the worst one. Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room.
That's right. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over.
Over where, exactly?
In the direction of the storeroom door, to where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated, and then the girl dropped the gun through the peephole onto the floor on my side of the door.
Why on earth would she do such a thing?
I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went and picked it up. I suppose I was worried about just leaving it there in case some more tragedies took place.
So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime.
Yes, it was yours, truly. I left the clear up to my lackeys and left.
Clear up?
We made a bit of mess around the counter, so Mr. Whiston here told us to tidy up. He thinks he's our bloomin' mum sometimes.
Well, I was paying you enough, by God.
Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket?
You little toe rag!
What? What? There's a lot here. Alright.
Excuse me.
Hey, gentlemen.
Something wrong, sunshine?
That should be my line. You do realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skullkid.
Well, I mean, this Steve's a bit hooligan, ain't he?
What was going on just now?
You saw me grab me whistle. What the places he said, didn't you mention the third gun when you got down to the station?
Why didn't you?
'Cause we didn't know nothing about it of all that flaming peephole in the door.
Sorry about that. I can be prone to losing my rag sometimes. Not hurt, are you?
God blimey, see the way he's looking at me, I'm telling you, this D gives me the willies.
That was strange. The inspector doesn't normally get quite as worked up as that. He wouldn't normally grab someone. No, that wasn't like Regsy at all. He's normally all sweetness and light no matter what I say to him. Yeah, well, I think you might be a special case, Iris. Well, anyway, that was definitely out of character.
No.
Okay, so there's something there at least. As much as I hate to admit it, I didn't see any obvious holes. That's wrong. Yeah, so they have a good point. So why would he claim to have seen the blood splatter? That doesn't seem right at all.
Hold it!
All over her.
Yes, through the peephole I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now, what with the coat being of much darker color. But I assure you, that garment is sullied with the victim's blood.
Well, it is sullied with blood, that's for sure. Well, it's not Mr. Winterbank's blood, is it? No, that's not. That's right. It's Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from when Miss McGilded stabbed him 2 months ago. It's so annoying. If only they'd accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove that. But they won't, so unfortunately we can't use it as evidence to support our case. Bother. Okay.
Hold it!
You mean you chased after him?
I don't recall the reason why, but I ran after him to the back of the shop.
What about this peephole in the door you mentioned?
Well, surprisingly, the storeroom door is a solid job made out of stout wood. But there's a small opening about head height that lets you see what's in there from the outside.
Actually, I should know that, shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. Peep.
What about your burgling brothers? Did you see what went on through this peephole as well?
No, not likely, Gov. There's nothing of the sort, Gov. Nothing, I mean.
I doubt these two buffoons were even aware of the people's existence.
The Skulkin brothers were there, but they didn't see the killing of Mr. Windowbank take place.
Inside that storeroom, I can see the broker and that young girl standing there. But to find it. Yes, that, though neither of them noticed that I was looking. The girl raised her gun and pointed straight at that man. And then, what did you see next?
Hold it!
When the crime was discovered, the defendant was found with a gun in her hand. Wait, hold on, do we have?
Yeah, isn't
Yeah,
that...
she was, okay, no. I was gonna ask if we had a picture of Gina after all, but no, we don't, and yes, she was found with the coat on because she was wearing that, like, the entire time.
Mm-hmm. But there is a picture with the position of the people there.
Sort of. Like, that's flimsy, though. Sit up, just for a second. Yeah, it's not great, but it is something at least. But it was Mr. Windowbank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And as we've already established, Mr. Graydon, that bullet was fired at you.
But no, it wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket girl had when I saw her.
Hi, Tyler.
Yes, the bullet from Windowbank's gun grazed my arm, and yes, the Skulkin's gun grounded the detective. But this was another gun entirely, a third gun. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon, so clearly there had to be a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her at the time.
But no other gun was found at the scene.
The picture with her holding Mr. Mason's gun. Why would she do that if she had her own gun?
Again,
She didn't know.
Again, we do not have a picture of Gina at the crime scene.
Yes, we do. When picture from,
Oh, you mean earlier?
earlier, when she was,
You mean
like,
this
threatening
one.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
'Cause
clearly,
that's
she's
clearly-
clearly holding that gun. Yeah. Sorry.
You must consider the events in order. At first I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then, all of a sudden, the broker turned to run, and it was at that moment that little gutter rat shot him in the back. A chilling image, I must say.
Okay, so then
Not that one.
if that's the case, then I think we have what we need, but I just need to figure out where to put it. Toss the gun out of the peephole. Of course, we also have these two first statements to press, but I don't know if there's anything there.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything there.
Yeah, it's rough because, like, I could have sworn. Which statement was it that when we pressed it, they started fighting? It was this one, right? The very last one? So I picked it up and made my escape. What happens if we press and not interrupt the argument? Wait a second. That's different. They didn't start fighting then.
Maybe it was a different...
Hold on. Yeah, let me check the... Because I remember that part. Clear up, yeah. Yeah, okay, so we got to that part, the bull at the gate line, and then they started fighting. So why did they not do it this time?
Because you already talked to him? No.
No. Let's try the first two phrases. You mean that's the moment you were shot?
Yes, though I didn't immediately realize what had happened, of course.
The problem here is that we need his bullets don't add up. His guns don't add up. Like he claims that he could probably claim that Gina had 2 guns, but I don't know. We don't have a way to prove that, unfortunately.
Things crashed to the floor from the counter as the 3 men were brawling. It was at exactly that moment that it happened, so I didn't hear the gunshot.
The bullet went on to strike the calendar in the wall behind you.
So it would appear. When I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it.
Oh, hold on. Didn't the... No, because... Remember when we talked to Gina earlier? She said that there were 2 shots, like, in quick succession.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3rd gun probably didn't even fire 1 shot. It probably fired 2, or if not more.
I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it. Seeing as I couldn't explain what had happened to a doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. I didn't imagine it would still be bleeding 2 days later.
Should probably get that checked out.
Did Mr. Windbank intend to shoot you, do you think?
Well, I mean, if it's a gunshot wound. If you don't get it treated and get it stitched up, it's a big wound. You can easily open that back up within 2 days. It's not like a little paper cut.
Well now, I don't imagine he didn't notice I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, it didn't quite strike home.
When he pulled me gun on him, when I pulled me gun on him, he tried to shove me out of the way. And then he scarpered through that door out back.
At which point, what did you do? I pursued the man. Yep, we got that part.
Hold it!
Mr. Winnebago emerged from the storeroom, I believe.
Rango and Ash were scouring the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at them. He already had the revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close.
I've never been more scared in all my life.
Yeah, we were just your regular mild-mannered burglars, that's all. We don't like violence. Okay, so hold on. So he just admitted to Winnebank carrying the gun. I don't know. This is rough.
If he was carrying the gun,
What do you
it
mean
would be
when
in
you-
in the picture.
What do you mean when you say you were near the entrance to the shop?
I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of forfeited items.
Looking for the music box, of course.
The broker went for Nash in the first place, and Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1, so I assumed they could handle this situation. But I was wrong.
I was trying to help me little brother. The old geezer chucked me over the blooming counter.
So I pulled me gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scarper.
Have you setting upon the poor defenseless pawnbroker together? Shame on you.
Sorry, Gov.